Hello and welcome back to Secret Diary. I'm your host, Ari. Secret Diary is a podcast dedicated to discussing our experiences of the modern world across various sectors and industries and topics and whatnots. Join me as I dive into insightful analysis and firsthand accounts of my experience living in these dynamics, where I share my goal to empower you to question conventional norms and help you participate in shaping an inclusive and progressive world. Yes, it's a work in progress. It's a budding introduction. We've made it this far, though. I'm so sorry for the obnoxious glowing light in the corner. I'll just try my best to block it out. But this topic is really exciting for me. I feel like I've been tapping into my network at home a lot more, and I've just been feeling really close to my family in ways that I haven't felt dispositioned to extend myself in so long. And it's really made me think about all the hard lessons that I've learned since moving out on my own, since living in a huge big city, and kind of those things that I want to spread my knowledge, my wisdom. So I kind of have a bit of a script that I'm going to go off today to really touch on topics that I think definitely are things people can relate on. I've talked to so many of my friends since moving here who have lived here their whole lives, or, have moved here and relocated and been, the transplants. I mean, I myself am a transplant, so it's like judge I can't judge at all, actually. But I do think there are ways to be an active member of your community despite, relocating. I think that's the important part. You have to actually engage in the culture of the people who live here and the people who keep the city running, and not just use it as your personal playground. But I digress. If you're actually committed to the old and whole saying of "I hate capitalism and I cannot pretend to enjoy life this way. I can cope, but I can't pretend." If you fall into this niche and you're set up to be an outcast, welcome, because lines of thinking in this way kind of opt you in to maybe not a complete outcast per se, but related to the very active and bustling labor and activism campaigns that I work with. And in tandem, these extend to just various industries of the working class and blue collar work. In which case, please hit me up. You could definitely connect with like-minded folk and individuals. But besides this, among other deliverables, I'd say after the first year here, I felt set up to be an outcast. I did not come from a wealthy family. I did not care about being a social media influencer. Granted, while I barely make enough to pursue things I actually enjoy, I'm not about to get reeled into a rat and mouse game of Thrones of being a promoter or having a promoter, sorry, and, buying cowboy boots and apocalypse core at the thrifts. So I bring this up because the first harsh truth I learned was thrifting in New York is just retail shopping in the suburbs. Only in the suburbs. My $8 would give me 3 items. At a thrift here is equivalent to one purchase. One item is like $20. So, sure, I can garbage dump at the bins and source a new of energy to find a measly used vintage tee, or I could just stop buying clothes and wearing all the shit I already own and still feel good about saving my money. So now I kind of have to get used to either buying something brand new when I really need it or just reusing what I already have. For the same price I would have had it offered to me for at Buffalo Exchange. This is the latter because most transplants can sit and bask in this revelation of loss with me, but a lot of people growing up here have probably just watched the inflation surge and the way thrifting has become inaccessible. I don't know when it was ever accessible because I have not been here long enough to have ever been in an environment where I felt thrifting was at any cost, like measly. There are obviously those actual thrift stores in communities that aren't, like Buffalo Exchanges, like more retail chain thrift stores. But I opt for you to stay there. If you can afford it, you already shop there. Don't make it any harder for anyone else. I went to a Goodwill when I was visiting my family in Florida, and shit was like insanely expensive. Like, I don't even want to talk about it. But, let the Nepo babies have the Buffalo Exchange. I think it works. However, my sanctuary here with my niche group of radicals and activists I find while working and organizing and just perusing the city and just like being myself authentically, because it's true, community here, it encompasses such a broader experience for me that is less traditional and reminiscent of those who come here looking for like the avant-garde Carrie Bradshaw experience. I've tried Bumble BFF. I've had some hits. I think a lot of it is just because I can dress the part of being like cute and angsty, and I have tattoos. And while I don't really feel like I fall into that niche of like that person beyond just maybe looking cool every now and then, I don't care about what I wear and what it says about me. And I will never pretend to care, actually. I think I just will look at people because I live in like a hub. It's like living in a magazine. I'm just constantly surrounded by people who are expressing themselves, and it just inspires me to express myself as well. But I will listen to my peers like recommending, the slew of getting into pop culture, and I'm open to hearing what is going on in that sector of the world. And usually my honest opinion is not favorable to people who are used to just like basking in that kind of era of pop culture, social media, and fashion trends. I do indulge. I'm a consumer. We're all consumers, but I won't pretend to be, elitist about something that I don't really give a fuck about what people wear. So I'm still being influenced. I just refuse to act like I enjoy things I don't. And I choose to opt out of participating in calling myself a pioneer of anything in that circle of life. Um, I will just inject what pleases me visually, which leads me to my second hardest truth is this could go for anywhere, but like, again, we're sticking to the theme. People will stereotype. People will assume that they know you based on your appearance. I don't know how many times I've had to explain to people that despite, the femme fatale, like being tatted, sunglasses, wearing an exterior of, I guess, just like modernity and like the cool, whatever you want to call it, I am just very queer and radical and disinterested in any of the labels that come with appearances. Like, when I'm superficially approached, it's very obvious who I attract. And it's not so bad until I'm forming connections with people whose ideas of fun are like standing around looking cool and talking about like high end wishy washy stuff, and maybe the occasional on point observations on like art and media, which are usually really champagne-y. And I just like I can't do it. I don't subscribe to it. I love art. I appreciate art. It's all around us, but I'm not going to sit and argue with you about why I didn't like Poor Things. I just I don't really get it, and I don't want to get it. And I think a lot of people think just because you might not understand like this category of something or know how to critique it in a way that is like academic, that you're just like not cool. I don't care about being cool, actually. Not in that way. So it's only all these conversations only to be misled into thinking I'm speaking to someone who actually cares about the world and calling out its injustices, to turn over and see them doom scrolling through TikToks about red pill dating and podcasters like and other chart junk of Twitter drama and pop music takes, asking where we can buy drinks for the third time this week. I don't care about doing these things, and I don't participate in it. And I will actively say that I dislike it. I think what happens is a lot of people will be like, I don't understand why we're talking about like hating on these things or blah, blah, blah. Like, we all have our opinions. We all have the things we like and don't like. I just think it's so funny that people will sit in circles jerking each other off on their like champagne interests. I don't care. how are you doing mentally? Because I feel like the world's falling apart, and I feel like there's just so much more important things than film and media consumption. Sorry. We could totally watch a documentary though. And I totally have movies that I love. Despicable Me, comfort movie. Studio Ghibli, amazing. Horror movies, I'm a huge fan of. I just think it's like the act of sitting and talking about these things and acting like it's making us any closer. Um, Closer to superficially, interests are kind of like, I don't need to connect with you and your interests. Worldviews, yeah, probably. But it's not for everyone, and it's disheartening to see the ladder of like minded folk run very, very slim. I think a lot of people get caught up in caring about these things and making it like a centralized point in their friendships. I just think there's just a lot of other things I would prefer to do. So call me a grandma, call me lame and boring. But my idea of conversation experiences are much more fulfilling with people who are willing to just like enjoy nature with me, activity based hangouts, and not have to be ridiculously unsober to coast through the worst, like one of the worst economic crises I've ever had to witness, at my ripe age of 21. So, I mean, I'm sure, people have lived through worse, but I'm still able to complain and not feel like I can't complain. So, rid of guilt, rid of shame, rid of not caring to get into this like crazy nightlife culture people use to escape. Have your copes, right? Have your copes. I just probably won't click that well, I don't think. So yeah, I cannot for the life of me pretend to care about people who make millions of dollars selling themselves out of privacy and normalcy for fame, social status, and body dysmorphia. I too tangled in this idea of success when I was like in high school, and I was like really into the whole being like an influencer and being like a YouTuber, and I just like found it's so exciting to literally just be paid money for being like conventionally attractive enough or falling into a niche. But I just realized that those experiences, it wasn't making me any more interesting and fulfilled than the generations of us who were served their own platter of similar dreams, just with more sexism and less child labor protections. I like watched this entire documentary about Howard Stern and like radio shows. Crazy shit going on over there. Mad misogyny, mad sexism, just rampant. And I feel like those things are pretty just in most industries, but they're just very secularized and normalized in like most pop culture media, like those kind of platforms, where you're just kind of like a personality in yourself. So despite that, I love being social. I'm not a hermit in my room. Just like I'm very lucky to be of the few people in this world who are chronically extroverted. I've just never in my life felt a sliver of social anxiety. I am self confident and I have a great time chatting up all these personalities in New York City. And just me being shady about my opinions, I'm not being shady. I very much say this to the people who I chat with, and we get along still. We just have different ideas of what we're doing here, and I think that's so interesting. But I also live in the real world where I work 30 hours a week. I go to school, and I don't really get to coast through just having these like fun, exciting experiences. Despite that, I still live a very privileged situation because of the support I get emotionally and monetarily when I need it for my family, when they can help me. It's not, no one's paying my rent, but if I need money for food, I can hit up my family. Like, those are things that are very real and very like clear to me. Thankfully, I have cushioned myself a bit these past few years, especially just preparing for adulthood all throughout school. Like I had a budget plan, I have a savings plan, all these things that keep me in check because I don't get to, just not work and support myself. But again, I want to reiterate that I am still privileged. And I think people want to act like they're on the struggle bus all the time when in fact, You don't have to lie about struggling in areas where you don't really. And I still get a bunch of anxiety about money and financial things because, again, I wouldn't be able to crawl myself out of like unemployment, or, I couldn't coast being without a job or without an income at all, like at all. So, but again, even when things like I need a little bit of help, like I still have a resource, and not a lot of people can say the same. So I definitely like to make that very clear when we talk about things like being upset with the state of the world. You don't have to be like extremely suffering to see the ways in which we need to be doing better for one another, and we need to be giving each other better chances at life. But yeah, it's kind of hard when we don't have access to free healthcare, education, the job crisis right now. There's so much unemployment and just a slew of other shit. But it's a reality that not many people want to face. That being here in a city, you're going to meet everyone under the sun trying to play into a character or archetype they admire. So you better know what it is that you're about. If not, you'll be hit with the staggering reality of your lack of identity. Which leads me to my next point. New York City is a hard truth in itself, but it's harder for you motherfuckers who ignore your mental health. You move here looking to cope. You'll cope all right. Cope yourself right into substance abuse. This is a topic I have heavy experience dealing in. The two come hand in hand. It's always the people who refuse to acknowledge their struggles that are out every weekend, every day, smoking, drinking, avoiding something they don't feel like facing. And I've fallen victim to the cycle of finding a crutch in all of the things the city has to offer. Being able to balance schoolwork, organizing, my fitness routine, it's been a practice and a commitment to discipline. But before I really solidified myself into a routine and self reflection, I was riding at dawn with everyone else, sulking into the busy and lively atmosphere around me. But let me tell you, it is way harder to lie to myself every single day that things would go away, or CPTSD would just like make sense to my unknowing brain. It was way harder for me to acknowledge that, and way easier to ignore than it was for me to go to therapy and start building stronger habits and stop making excuses for myself. So let me get into some testimony because I can't come on here spitting this truth without laying it all out for you in real time. I had crazy CPTSD when I left Florida, and I have always been like living in the role self of a responsible parentified child, and I knew there was things I needed to confront once I moved out on my own. But what I didn't have was someone to tell me how and what I needed to do. So I just read a bunch of books and self-studied complex PTSD, mental health, like the whole nine yards. And it's why I do carry myself with such high confidence and self respect, because I know that what you allow yourself to fault over when you don't have the support of others, and it's something you need to build up within yourself. So, investing in my mental health and using it as a tool to help me and those around me has helped me in every area of my life. And it's why I'm still able to have a good and working relationship with my parents. But I took it upon myself to provide myself a lifeboat. And I would be lying if I didn't say or share that amazing support my long term partner gave me and saw me in my home situation and saw me suffering. And through my home life, moving out on my own into the city, like falling into copes that were not building the life that I wanted. So yeah, I just want to give a little insight into me sharing my experience with substance use, mental health. I grew up watching this story unfold, and while I never fell into SA, I did find myself turning to substances to cope with bigger feelings, like of the results of growing up in an environment where substance abuse was affecting my life every single day as a child of an addict. And it wasn't until I cared enough about myself to actually realize how it was making my goals harder. And yeah, I mean, lastly, four, to end on an even number and give myself some room to regroup and chat about some afterthoughts with you all. Any city, any environment will call out your shortcomings by showing you everyone around you who is doing better than you. In short, you are not the best to anyone, but you should be the best version of yourself. The sooner you're willing to accept that within yourself, that the people who come for money have it easier, the people who have the luxury of time will use it over you. Those who make the most of their privileges, right? They have a leg up on those of us who make the majority of the city, the working class. So pivot and accept that you don't need to kill yourself for anything, but you can make choices every single day to get closer to where you want to be. Truly understanding that you are not here to be the best. You aren't. Ideas of perfectionism, like having to do things right and feeling like you're so behind, is an illusion. It's so accept what is right in front of you, accept your reality, accept what is unfolding before you. That's the perfect part of you. You know, start living for yourself. Don't be miserable trying to because you can't reach these like unobtainable goals. Practice every single day the things that you love. Nothing in this world is promised except death. Not to be like daunting and quintessential and whatever, but it's true. And there's a reason that people who have come and had everything taken from them and stripped from them are some of the most fulfilled people in life, because they have to overcome that obstacle, being uncomfortable, accepting the things that you are constantly just like feeling consumed by, or you feel like are happening to you instead of happening for you. Let yourself feel those things. Stop ignoring it. Stop hiding it. Start talking to the people around you, because all these hard truths, all of these hard lessons, I didn't get through them by being alone and working on them by myself and not sharing how I felt. I forced myself to be radically authentic in my experiences and be unafraid to tell people when there are things that I struggle with, or they're just like sharing who I am and why I am the way that I am. Not to be accepted by anyone, not to be like, not seeking validation and feeling understood for who I am, but simply sharing because I already know who I am and I already know the things that encompass me in my life. And I've seen what happens when other people choose to approach me with that same vulnerability and authenticity. I just feel less alone, because you can be, this is I guess more so why I really dislike talking constantly about like pop culture and pop and like media, and I just feel like it distracts from the very real experiences of being somebody who doesn't live in that world. And I feel like a lot of people I meet who are really invested in those things use it as an escape. They use it as an escape from the real life in the way that you use most other things to cope, you know, like buying cute shit and, you know, dressing the way that I like. But it's something that feels authentic to me and my interests. Whereas like we didn't always have the internet, and we were okay. I promise you that, you know, despite how much technology has advanced as a society, it's also kind of warped our self-image, and it's made us feel like if you don't know what's going on like in pop culture, that you're just like out of touch. I don't think you need to be in touch with things. I don't think anyone should feel obligated to feel like ramped up in those kinds of topics. They're not fulfilling for everyone. And I mean, pick up a hobby, pick up something. If you are sitting on your phone scrolling, doom scrolling through like a bunch of things, and look at what you're scrolling on, right? Like, look at it. What about it interests you? Clearly it's something that you're interested in doing yourself, and you just are sitting on your phone like, I wish I could do that, I wish I could do that. You can. You actually can. You actually could just do whatever you want. And, you know, use your resources, do the things that light you up inside. And the dopamine you get from scrolling on your phone all day, watching videos all day, being just consumed in front of a screen, I just know it's not good for you. I, I don't need to consult anybody else on that. And just, we don't know how to be bored anymore. We don't know how to how to just engage outside of things in this way. And I just, as somebody who's like deleted TikTok, who has a really hard time like getting off of apps and social media, I was just so incessantly on the internet my entire life. I wish our parents like had. I wish I'd been born in the generation like now where I would hope my parents would understand like the effects of technology on us, and like how regulated technology use is essential for getting a stronger grasp and relationship to this age of tech. But I had to learn myself, and I'm still learning to regulate every single day. And I think the internet connects us, obviously. I'm on here sharing my thoughts and my opinions like through screen with you all. But I also acknowledge that the life I want to live is the one that's right in front of me. It's in the present, and it's in the moment with the individuals who encompass my community. And while the internet keeps me closer and in touch with people outside of my like inner network, like local network, and connects me to a broader community and a broader family, I just know that you can't spend your whole life like staring at a screen, feeling like you're missing out on your life because you're not around people you used to be around, or you're not in a place like that you're staring at on your screen. Like living in the moment is so important. Being present is truly the guide to knowing yourself. But, what do I know? I just know what I know. Actually, I think that's like the truth in the matter. I have been trying my best to dig into the things that I enjoy in life again. I've been skating with my friends. I've been writing in my free time. I've been getting to know new people, because those are the things that make me excited about life. Activities, connection, progress, and things that are tangible, things I can see, not just like a number on a screen, or feeling like, or like numbers, my bank account, stuff like that, like is irrelevant to me in the long term. When I think about what makes me fulfilled in life, it's not money, it's not monetary, it's not numerical in anything. It's not quantifiable to count those things like it's all of the things that I don't need to count, but I can see progress. The way I feel about myself, the way I feel about the people around me, the love I get to share and connect with, just like being in the world, stripping away from the kinds of things that people deem important on the internet. I don't care for it. I don't think it matters really. I'm sure it matters to some of you, and like, it's like one of those things. Everybody has their own opinion. We can argue about it all day, but at the end of the day, I choose to not care about it, and that's fine. I think it's fine. And I don't need anyone to like agree with me about it. I think that's something you have to sit with when you're the kind of person who feels like people need to agree with you and need to like have the same opinions as you or whatever. I see it a lot on the internet. People kind of getting into arguments in the comment sections, or addressing it in their videos. Like when people are like, a majority of their video gets like disagreements or negative dislikes, like they love to bring it up. What good does that do you? Like, I guess if you want to acknowledge like, you guys don't agree with me, I don't care. But like, you bring it up in your videos. You're bringing it up in your videos. So it does bother you a little bit, I think. I just like the reverse of it all, being able to see somebody pointedly disagree with you and just be like, I love that, because we're not the same at all. And I don't want to be the same. I think it would be so boring to live around people who just always were like me and into things like me. Then I would never learn anything new, and I would never be challenged. I would never be challenged enough to feel secure in my own opinions. And that's the fun of it all, I guess. I don't really have much else to say. I've been trying to stay on a steady roll with these videos and these episodes. So let's hope that life continues to work in a way where I can pump out these podcast episodes pretty easily week after week. I think Thursday is just going to be the standard upload day. So, yeah, I think that's all I had to say today. These are my little harsh, rampant thought, like rapid fire truths about living in the city and the things that I've learned from it. I'm sure I'll have more things to share and more opinions and topics to deviate from, and we'll see where this goes. But thanks so much for watching. I was Ari, this was Secret Diary, and we'll see you next Thursday. Bye.